What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Ridgehunteroutdoors podcast. This is episode number 153. I forgot to mention in last week's intro that if you're looking for number 151, that one is exclusively on Carbon TV. We got to talk with the CEO and president of Carbon TV, Julie McQueen. So I thought it'd be fitting just to put that one on Carbon and Carbon only. So if you guys want to listen to that, it was a great conversation. She had a lot of good insights to the direction that outdoor media is going. We got to obviously talk about her background and where she came from. She's been on and produced a few different hunting shows and stuff like that. So it was a good conversation. You guys should go check it out on Carbon TV. That's episode 151. But this week on 153, we're talking to a return guest, Drew Kazenski. He's the president of the Illinois Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We talked about some stuff that they're working on, House Bill 1873, which is trying to get more access to streams and rivers. We got really in depth on that one on an episode he was on previously, but that bill has made some progress and some different things that they've got going on at BHA as well. The Conservation Archery Park that we did a live-ish podcast from is set to open for the public this May. Finally, they've got all the concrete and stuff done, but I'll let him tell you guys more about that. And then we got into his hunting season and some stuff like that too. So I thought it was a great conversation. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. So let's get into it here on episode 153. This is the Ridge Hunter Outdoors podcast. All right, let's just dive right in. I know you sent me a text the other day. You guys got some stuff going on. Some stuff looks like it's moving forwards. But what's been going on overall with the BHA, the Illinois chapter? What else is new? And how have you been, man?
Things are great. It's tough to get. I know we wanted to do this in the fall a little bit, but man, it's just hard not to go hunting. So
Yeah, I agree.
but it's February and it's cold, so it's a good time to stay inside next to the fire.
It is both of those things, yes.
We do have some movement here in the chapter, really across the state there, and some pretty big things. I guess I'd just start with probably the one thing that I get asked about pretty regularly is the archery park that we recorded an episode at. We are ready to open this spring.
Awesome.
So looking at doing a grand opening event. Right now it's looking like May 16th, 17th, and 18th at the Possum Creek Recreation Area up by Lake Shelbyville.
Okay.
So that'll be a big thing. It's been a long time coming. I don't know when we actually started this project, but it's been years.
So what I've got here, so that episode that we did was posted on September 11th, 2023, and in the description it says you'd been working on it over the past 18 months from then. If that gives you some kind of idea.
That's accurate.
So that's actually episode number 93, the one you're referring to, is when we talked about, we were at the park and we did that podcast, kind of really on what you guys had going on there. But for people who haven't listened to that, definitely go back and listen to it. But why don't you give us just a quick rundown of what actually is there at the park, kind of what it's for, and then what you guys have done even since we recorded that podcast to get it up to where it is now, ready to open.
Yeah, so Lake Shelbyville Archery Park, that's what it's been named so far, and we'll probably stick with it. It's pretty easy to find if you Google Lake Shelbyville or Archery Park. But that event that we had there was kind of a kickoff. It was, trying to get folks just involved and aware that there was going to be a project going on there. But since then, what has happened is a lot of parking lot improvements. So we actually have, a good area there to bring people in. I think when you guys came, folks were just parking out on the road. The other piece of that came with some access for wheelchairs, things like that, to some of the target areas, including some of the trail. And that's really what's taken the most time. When you get into government contracts and concrete work and weather, it can delay pretty quickly.
Those three things are the perfect storm for something not getting done in a timely manner.
Those three things just don't mix.
No.
But they did, and the concrete is in, and the parking lot is done, and we're getting ready to, probably when the weather breaks here a little bit, we'll be looking to get some targets in place. But really, what folks are what they're gonna see out there is a practice range that'll have like some bag targets at different yardages right there at the parking lot. So you can park, get out of your truck, and shoot a 20, 30, 40-yard lane, all within steps. And then you follow a trail into the timber, and using kind of the natural features in the timber, some of the ridge lines and valleys and draws that are in there. There's different stations set up along a trail, so you can kind of work your way through and get different shots and different technicalities to it. So the whole idea behind it was, one, there's really not something like that in the area. And archery parks in Illinois, if you do find an outdoor archery facility, they tend to be very flat.
Yep.
And Shelbyville has a lot of opportunity for hills and draws and haulers and all those things. So the other piece of our trail, I would say, is really about the education piece. And that's just, not only are you there to shoot, but hopefully you learn something too. And we're looking to, get some information out there to push folks to learn about, the trees that are in the timber and the animals that they're shooting at, how they can get involved in conservation efforts. So it's really, we call it the archery park, but it's really like a conservation trail. It's an opportunity for all to grow and kind of learn and be involved in archery as well as the outdoors.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it accomplishes all those things, and it's a really good 3D course. Of the ones that we've been on now that I've seen, I definitely put it right up there, because it does offer some interesting angles, shot angles, and different setups and stuff. I know you guys, at least when we were there, had some blinds kind of simulating shooting out of a blind set up there, and it was really cool. It was a really good course, and I'm glad to hear you guys got all the concrete work done and the accessibility stuff and the parking lot and everything, and ready to open it up. I think that'll be a really good thing for the community and for conservation in general. Our partners at Flambeau Outdoors have some of the best solutions in the industry for your decoy and storage needs. They're focused on innovation that matters, and they build their products to last. They're probably most known for their whitetail, waterfowl, and turkey decoys, and that's for good reason. They've got a lot of quality options at great price points in each category. The Boss Buck is a personal favorite of mine in their whitetail line, and I've been throwing their Stormfront mallards in front of duck blinds for years now. Don't sleep on their storage solutions either, though. Whether it's fishing tackle, firearms, ammo, or archery equipment, they've got you covered. They just stepped up their archery storage game, too, with the new Formula bow case. It might just be the best bow case on the market. We've been using ours for several months now, and I'm continually impressed with the ease of use and security they provide. Make the most of your time outdoors with Flambeau. Realism that gets results.
It's been a pretty cool process, really. I mean, been super involved in it, but also just seeing it grow in the area. Some of the local schools have already put, I think partly due to knowing that they had a facility that was coming, some schools in the area have put archery into their curriculum.
That's awesome.
I know Central A&M actually just started they have a sanctioned scholastic 3D archery team that I'm sure is going to be out there running that trail. So, it's pretty cool to see that you turned on a piece and you provided a facility, and then you watch it grow around it, and that's really what's happening.
Yeah, we just did the S3DA state indoor shoot. The state outdoor shoot will be in June, so we'll go to that one. That's a pretty good course down there at Wren Lake too that they shoot. But every time we go to those S3DA events, I'm always kind of shocked at the number of shooters and number of people that are there, and not only that, but the opportunity that it gives those kids to have something that they can do and enjoy outside of school. And on top of that, the ones that want to go on and pursue higher education, there's some serious opportunity for scholarships in that too. So I think that park being there, like you said, obviously it's had something to do. I would say it's had something to do with those schools picking up archery just because they have a place now to do it, and that's going to bring a lot of opportunities to those kids in that area.
Yeah, we've really been working to get them involved. I volunteer as the conservation coordinator for Illinois S3DA, and really my role is just finding ways to get those kids involved in different archery aspects around the state. Maybe not necessarily competition shooting, but like involved in the outdoors. And this was part of that project. So S3DA is 100% looped into this too, which is great. Hopefully that means, eventually my goal would be that the schools and the families and the shooters and all those folks that are at those events that you guys are at, that they're the ones that are really kind of running and managing this park.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, getting them involved. And once they have some ownership of it too, I think it'll only grow even more in the community, and they'll want to do more with it and see more done with it because, you give them that kind of that involvement with it, they're going to want to see it do better as well. So I think overall that's been a really positive thing. Obviously a labor of love, and it's taken some time, but it's good to see that it's finally getting moving in the right direction.
I can't. I got started in it, and I just couldn't give it up.
Yeah.
So I fully planned on seeing it through, and it's pretty cool to have some dates on the calendar, and we'll be pushing out some more information about what that's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
In our mind right now, I'm thinking May 16th is probably just going to be a setup type day and probably pretty relaxed. And but the 17th will really, we'll have some what we call conservation shoot, which is kind of what we did out there the last time, where folks can just come out and shoot and enjoy the park, and maybe get some vendors there and run a couple contests, and recognize some folks that have been involved in this too. I talk about it a lot, but Corps of Engineers has been above and beyond with this project.
Mm-hmm.
For them to even entertain, just a couple emails from me, basically saying, "Hey, there's something I'd like to try and do," and then it leading to this project is pretty crazy. So we'll really try to make it a fun event, and then after that, it'll be open and free to the public. All sponsored by your local sponsors and volunteers.
That's awesome. So also in that text you sent me, this is something that we talked a lot about on the last episode you were on, which was number 126. For those of you that missed it, go back and listen to that one too. But the stream access, there's been some new developments with that. So why don't you give us a quick down and dirty rundown on what that is, and then kind of talk about what developments you've had with that here recently.
Yeah. So stream access in Illinois, if you listen to that last episode, you can dive into it pretty deep, I think, but more or less, stream access here it's pretty muddy.
Mm-hmm.
The state laws and definitions of what is a public stream is a little bit different than the way the federal government sees it. And what comes out of that is there are rivers that you could float on legally under federal law, but under our own state law, you cannot. They are considered private rivers. And whenever I say private, I mean the bed of that river as well as the water. So you can't float on it. You can't walk down it. It is just like private land.
Mm-hmm.
Most folks probably, I say that, and folks probably think, yeah, I mean that makes sense. But if you put it on a map, only about 2% of moving water in Illinois is actually accessible to the public under our state law.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal was to try and align. We don't want to do anything different, but we wanted to align state and federal law and kind of cut the cloudiness and really just it would naturally increase access without changing anything that's not legal anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that all rivers in Illinois are public by either definition, but certainly more than 2% are.
Right.
And what's happening right now, and pretty consistently, really, we get contacted a lot, but folks are going into public access points. They'll go to a public boat ramp, and they may load their canoe and head down the river, and then they're crossing a private boundary line. And a lot of times what's happening is folks are getting, law enforcement called on them and threatened with trespassing or lawsuits, all those types of things. And it's really just a matter of confusion over definitions,
Mm-hmm.
and not really what I would consider, true trespassing.
Right.
So that's been going on. I mean, that's been the case in Illinois for a long time. And BHA has been involved in this and really trying to educate folks. We really got deeply involved in 2020. And we've had bills proposed every year since then. And they've never actually been called for a vote. They typically just kind of fall off and nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
But we continue to push with it. And just a week or two ago, a new bill was proposed in this legislative session, which is House Bill 1873. And that's really, that bill is looking to align state law with federal law and increase public access to what is considered public streams by federal definition.
Nice. What kind of chances are you giving this? What's your outlook on it? Optimistic, pessimistic, kind of somewhere in between? What are you thinking?
I'm in between. I it's not impossible.
Right.
There's no reason that this shouldn't pass. I think the only reason it doesn't primarily is because just people aren't aware. I think we talked about it last time, and when I brought it up, your reaction was the same as I get when I talk to most folks, and they think, well, I didn't know that. I just assume we could float our rivers like we can in Missouri. And it's really just people don't know. And I think when people don't know, they don't get involved in it. And then the legislators just don't see it as a real issue in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the stance that we've taken, is just educating folks to get them involved in it, and educating some legislators that, hey, this is a real issue. You're putting your public residents into some bad places with the way the law currently sits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what'll happen with this, but I'm a positive guy, and we'll keep pushing. If it doesn't pass, we'll keep pushing, and we'll do it again.
Yep.
I think we've stayed pretty loud on this issue, and for good reason. And we will continue to do that. So I keep telling folks, if it doesn't go, that's no reason to quit. It just means you just need to increase your efforts and try to get more people involved in it.
Mm-hmm. That's a mindset that a lot of people probably don't have these days, but it's good to hear. And I do think it's a worthwhile cause. A lot of what you're saying, it's in a way, it's kind of turning some people who completely harmless, just trying to maybe even access public land, turning them into by letter of the law or whatever trespassers. And I think there's a lot of scenarios where that's just, like you said, it's more of a misunderstanding, and that's definitely not the case. That's not what's happening, and I think there's a lot of room for opening those waters up to public access that would be very beneficial to everybody involved and allow more opportunities for people throughout the state to have more recreation and not just hunting, but just people who enjoy being outdoors, floating rivers in the summertime just for fun, that kind of stuff. I think it's definitely a worthwhile cause. I'm glad to see that you guys are making some progress on it, and it's good to hear that even if it doesn't get passed, you're not giving up on it. You're still going to push forward with it.
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing I did want to mention about that House bill that I keep talking about it. It's something that I think is cool, but it's House Bill 1873, and if you go back in time in Illinois, 1873 was the first year that Illinois actually passed a statewide conservation related law. And that law was aimed at, kind of guiding folks on wildlife and fish and preserving those resources for future generations. And really, that's what House Bill 1873 is doing. We're looking at preserving something for future generations, and that is the water that's flowing across our state.
What I'm hearing is it only took them 150 years to really start screwing things up.
That's the bill, or not the bill. That's the year.
Yeah.
That bill that was passed that year was essentially what set the law in place that you couldn't shoot a deer in the summer months. So like that law really it led to where we, kind of the thing that we think is normal today.
Right.
So it's very interesting, and I find that as a very cool piece of, hey, the first conservation related law that ever happened was in this year, and then here we are probably pushing one of the largest conservation related laws in a long time, if not since 1873.
Right. Maybe that's a good sign.
I call it a sign. We'll keep it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with it. If not, it'll be whatever the next bill is. Maybe that'll be the one. But I'm hopeful for it. I think it's good that anytime you can get this kind of stuff out in front of people and kind of open some eyes up to conservation and these kind of conversations and what we're doing as outdoor enthusiasts and kind of the things that we see as issues within the state and bringing some awareness to all that. You guys did your Muddy Waters tour, isn't that what it was called?
Yep, we did several events with the Muddy Waters tour, and that was just events kind of around the state that were aimed at educating folks on this issue, and they weren't serious, these weren't like screaming town halls or anything.
Right.
We just got folks together and kind of just enjoyed talking about the outdoors and educated on stream access across Illinois. So those were pretty successful, and it opened a lot of eyes. We'll continue to do them. I was asked, when are we done with the Muddy Waters tour? And I was like, I don't know, probably whenever a bill passes. So
right.
Just continue to see those little events popping up around the state.
Yep. I was going to ask how much you attributed the progress to those events.
I think if you don't do some kind of event like that, or if you're not doing something that's getting folks involved in it, I don't know that there is any progress. And it just because if people aren't talking about it, what legislator is going to stamp their name on this bill?
Right.
And I don't know, I'm not a legislator, I'm not a politician, but popularity gets you a lot of places, and if people are talking about something and you can make that happen for them, then you get a lot of backing. So That's just the reality of it. It's definitely growing. I think our first event was pretty small, and then here we are looking at going to speak at Southern Illinois Outdoor Summit here in March, hopefully, on this exact topic. So I think it grew into those events they've opened some doors and led us into some things where our voice is getting bigger.
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of also probably a little bit of confirmation or affirmation for you guys to know that what you're doing is making a difference and helping out. Just seeing the growth of that and the doors, like you said, the doors it's open for you guys, and then it leading to some success with getting this bill introduced and hopefully getting it passed.
Yep, and I hope people, it is. I don't want to say it's controversial, but it's something that folks just aren't used to. And you start talking about essentially changing property lines, and people get kind of up in arms a little bit. But I hope people think about it enough, or at least research it enough to realize that you're not losing anything by this. You're actually gaining. You're going to gain access. Even if you own a portion of that river, you now have access to that entire river, not just the portion that you own.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're not. It'd be important to get those people to understand that they're not losing anything. They're actually gaining a lot when you think about it that way. So if you're talking about, like you said, you start talking about moving property lines, taking stuff away, people are going to get pretty upset about that and pretty up in arms. But if you just, kind of look at that from the other perspective, we're not really taking that from you. We're giving you all the rest of this river, right?
Yeah. Yep. It is. It's been the word taking has been thrown out a lot. And that is 100% not the case. This land is not, or this water is not going from you. It's actually coming to you.
If you're like most hunters out there, at some point, you've dreamed of having a piece of hunting ground to call your own. Maybe you finally decided to make those dreams a reality. If so, you need to talk to our guy, Rodney Hawkins. Rodney is a land specialist with Midwest Farm and Land. If you haven't heard of them, they aren't your average real estate company. While they do deal in traditional residential and commercial real estate, their specialty is recreational and farm ground. With agents like Rodney serving across the state of Illinois, no matter what you're looking for, they can find it. Even if you want to sell what you already have to upgrade, downgrade, reinvest, whatever, they've got you covered. For more information, you can contact Rodney at 618-925-3153, and he'll get you taken care of. On top of what he does for MFL, Rodney also has his own company called RG Outdoors. They currently carry hard and soft-sided blinds, blind chairs, tree stands, and cameras from Radix Hunting, Tacticam trail cameras, Fission e-bikes, and he's adding new stuff all the time. I've personally used all of these products, and I'm beyond happy with every one of them. The Fission e-bike is a game changer, and you will not find a better one for the price. If you're interested in anything RG Outdoors has to offer, you can send them a message to their Facebook page, RG Outdoors, email them at rgoutdoors@yahoo.com, or again, just call Rodney directly at 618-925-3153. Yeah, that's probably an uphill battle from the start, though. I feel like just in today's world, people are automatically going to take that stance on it and kind of that negative, especially once you're involved in the government and policy and stuff like that. Like, immediate first reaction is going to be, hey, they're taking something from me. You know what I mean? And not looking at it from the perspective of, hey, I'm gaining access. You know what I mean? They're not used to policy being made in their favor most of the time.
And it's I go back to the fact of if it is public water, that means that now we have this like resource that can really be protected and cared for. Whenever it's private water, like you're at the mercy of the person who's upstream from you, right?
Yep.
So if it's public, we actually have like some real interest in it. And a good example of that is look at every state park or national forest in our state. If those areas aren't like that today because they were deemed private and allowed to be built on. Those areas are like that today because they were left in their pristine conditions.
No doubt. Speaking of state parks and conservation areas and everything like that, tell us about your fall, your hunting season. I know when we were texting one time, you just got back maybe from Wyoming. So why don't you let the people in on what you had going on this fall during the season?
Yeah, I was out in Wyoming last time we were chatting a little bit. That was not a hunting trip. That was solely a recreation trip. But my wife and I did some floating out there and
Mm-hmm.
got to do some kayaking around some moose and try to catch some trout. So that's cool. It was a nice little break from Illinois.
Yeah, I'm sure. A little bit different out
But
there.
yeah, it is. We my hunting though has been I I haven't got to hunt as much this fall as I used to,
Mm-hmm.
and I just from being so busy.
Right.
A lot with this stuff too, which is I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Right.
it's I was fortunate enough to put some meat in the freezer and got to go out a couple times and enjoy that. I don't know if I'm getting older or at what point you reach this, but you ever find yourself just sitting out there sometimes and you're just watching
Mm-hmm.
and and then I'm like, oh, my bow's just kind of like hanging there, and
Yep.
I probably could have shot a deer, but I was just sitting there enjoying the moment.
Yep.
Um,
I'll tell you with the cameras, it's not any better for me because especially if I'm self filming, I'll get like locked into trying to get some really good video and something cool will be happening, and I'm trying to get it all on video and just like take it all in, and I'm like, hey, your bow's hanging right here. Like,
yeah,
this is why it's kind of why you're out here. But
yeah,
that
I find
definitely
myself
happens.
doing the same thing. It's just sometimes you see cool things, or it's not a deer I was wanting to shoot this year or something like that, and then
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of get caught up in it, and I find myself doing that more and more. Um, but I still put some meat in the freezer for sure.
That's a plus.
So
That's a plus. Man,
I'm excited about that.
we have that conversation a lot though. It seems like with around like what you're really out there for. Obviously, I mean, who doesn't want to kill a big buck? And that's why I do a lot of things I do with the property and the places that we hunt and whatever. But ultimately, my idea of a successful season is getting to have the time outdoors and enjoying being out there amongst all of it and just kind of the escape from everyday, day-to-day stuff and being able to just go sit in a tree or sit in a blind or sit on the ground and just kind of enjoy the outdoors. And then if I kill a really nice deer or a mature buck, on top of that, it's just a bonus. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
totally.
if I can put some meat in the
100%.
freezer, like that's great. But to me, a successful season is being able to get out there and hunt and just enjoy doing what we do, and then like going with the guys and filming with them, or going on group hunts where we all go. Okay, I'm going to go here, you're going to go there, that kind of thing, and getting back together at the truck and hey, what'd you see? This is what I saw. Like that's why I really do it, and that's a perspective I think that gets lost sometimes in the social media age. But if you're doing it for that, you're almost always going to have a successful season.
Yep, yep. I couldn't agree more. And man, I just love being out anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Preferably if I can get somewhere where there's no phone service, uh, and spend a week or two there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in heaven.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when you can't answer emails or phone calls or texts because you don't have any service.
The first day or two, I'll say, I do some Western hunting and backcountry trips, and the first day or two, you kind of like you feel like I don't know if it's just ingrained in us now, but you feel like you're missing out on something.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't take long for you to kind of forget all the things that you thought were, of importance, and
Mm-hmm.
and you're just kind of in the moment.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling. And usually that hits me, on the second or third day. And then once you get towards the last day, sometimes you're kind of like, get me out of here,
Right.
especially if you've been packing an elk for a couple of days.
Yep. No doubt. I think that's probably natural, though. It's kind of like a reset to something that we're actually more made for and is more natural to us to be out there like that without all the distraction, without the computer in your pocket that's constantly in your face. Like you definitely probably have some withdrawals, but then you kind of recenter around your perspective changes and your priorities change pretty quick on what you're doing, and you're focused on being out there and just taking everything in. And it definitely, I think, gives you a better perspective, even coming back when you do come back to the regular world. It kind of gives you a different way to look at things.
There's some things that can drive you into that too. I'm sitting here thinking about whenever I was out in the Frank Church Wilderness elk hunting, and it was hot and it was dry, and all I was really focused on was like making sure I knew where I could get water.
Yeah. Yep.
So it drove you into like what was really important really fast.
Yes. That's a little bit different than who liked my post on Instagram,
Yeah.
like for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's also, you get to have a lot of secondhand fun when you're out there on those trips too. And that's something I really enjoy also, like whether it's even out here just in the Midwest doing our hunting in Illinois, going out when it's like 15 degrees and the wind's blowing and it just absolutely freaking sucks and it's cold and maybe you don't see any deer and it really, really sucks at the time, but then you look back on it later and it's like you kind of almost appreciate it, right? And especially if you're out there with somebody or you're on a hunt together and you're both freezing your butt off and it just kind of sucks, and then you laugh about it later and joke about it. I think that's a lot of fun, honestly. Although it might not be at the time, that's something that offers some perspective too, and then you look back on it later and you're like, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I love going out the last day of archery season. I've kind of like made it a point to, like, no matter what the weather is, I'm going. And the last day of this archery season was extremely cold.
Yes, it was.
and we had, that's when we had the big snow.
Yep.
In this area, and I went out with snowshoes on and like just kind of played mountain man for a little bit, and actually got on some deer too. And it was just fun. Miserable, but fun.
Yeah. I had the day before the last day of this season, I went out and it was the same thing, brutally cold. The snow was out and just kind of the same idea. I went out, I kind of decided that I was going to drive around some of the properties I have permission to hunt on, and if I saw anything, I was going to try to put one more doe in the freezer before the year ended, get some more tenderloins to put on the grill or whatever. And I ended up finding a few deer and stalked them through the woods in the snow or whatever and got to within bow range. Ended up they were both button bucks, so I didn't shoot either one of them, but it was still like, it was a lot of fun just to have that experience and that opportunity to get out there in some pretty crappy conditions and just go hunt, especially at like that time. I didn't even take a camera, so it was kind of nice little, kind of different than what we did all season, just getting away from the camera and kind of doing how I used to do it.
I think I like at that, like when it's like that out, I like just proving to myself that I can do it. That I can still succeed, like getting on an animal, even if I don't shoot it, whenever the conditions are horrible, that like I can still do it.
There's something to that, because so much of our daily lives, we're blessed to have a lot of comforts, and honestly, everybody's got mental stress, sure, but like physically, unless you're seeking it out, you don't have to really stress yourself or have many hardships physically. Like if you're in good health, obviously there's exclusions to this. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but for the most part, you can have it about as easy as you want unless you seek out those hard things to do. And I enjoy doing that because, like what we're talking about, it does give you a different way to look at things once you come back to, the truck with the heater on and get back to the house. It's 70 degrees inside and you got hot supper on the stove,
Yeah. It's a lot different than 1873, right?
Yes, I guarantee you that. I didn't have to ride my horse out there to the woods.
I've and just talking about seasons, that's my past season, but I'm really looking forward to some things coming up.
Yeah.
I got a turkey tag on public here in Illinois, and it won't be cold and miserable, I don't think.
Right, hopefully.
Spring hunting is always fun.
Yep.
Um, and then in the fall, I'll be heading out to Idaho to do some archery elk hunting. So
There you go. What part of Idaho are you going to?
I'll be actually on the other side. So the last time I was out there, I was on the east side of the Frank Church. This time I'll be on the west side of the Frank Church.
Okay.
So that'll be a fun experience, and going to meet some buddies out there and see what we can do.
So is that a draw, like a draw unit? I guess Idaho's all draw system, right?
Yeah, for non-residents, yeah. If you ever want to see how messy draws can get, and this is nothing against Idaho, but they have a very unique system to draw a tag, and you basically have to get online at a certain time, and you kind of wait in a virtual like waiting room. And then if your number gets called, you can go buy the tags that are left wherever you're wanting to go.
That is definitely different.
That waiting room, and I don't know exactly how many people are on it, but I've been like number 30,000 in line before.
Holy cow!
So there's a lot of folks putting in for it. The good thing about some of the Frank Church areas is that may be, in my opinion, I haven't been everywhere in the country, so I hope nobody comes at me for this, but Frank Church may be some of the roughest country that I've ever seen in the U.S.
Yeah.
So that limits the amount of folks that are wanting to get a tag there. So, but it's a beautiful area, and it's just like we were talking about it. It puts you in that element where you're out of everything. You're only focused on staying alive and finding an elk.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how all those Western states kind of differ in their draw systems and their points and preference points and all that kind of stuff. And I think that combined with what you're talking about, the unknown of the wilderness and what kind of terrain you can get into out there, probably keeps a lot of us Midwesterners from going out west and doing an elk hunt. Like, it's pretty daunting to even figure out how the best way is to put in and get a tag in some places. And then it's like, do you really know what you're getting into, where you're going? You can only learn so much from a map, but I'm going to put in for Montana this year and see what happens there. But I think it's one of those things you just got to kind of dive in, and there's plenty of people out there that would help you, but you can also figure a lot of stuff out on the internet. I think, it's something that you can definitely do. What was your experience like the first time you went out there? Was it kind of that way? Were you a little bit like, am I in over my head? What am I doing? Or was it you just kind of diving in? Here we go. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Ridge Hunter Outdoors podcast. If you've made it to this point, hopefully you're enjoying the show. And if you are, go over to our Facebook page and our Instagram. Give us a follow. It's Ridge Hunter Outdoors. We also have a private Facebook group. That's Ridge Hunter Nation. You can go over there and answer a couple questions. And if you're a regular listener of the podcast or you watch any of our shows on YouTube or Carbon TV, you get in that group and just use it as your normal hunting group. Share your success, your failures, pictures, whatever you got, and we'll also give you some extra content in there. I'll ask questions on that, maybe do some surveys occasionally, and we'll also give you guys the opportunity to ask questions for any of our guests that we might have coming on, if we have them lined up in time and that's available. You'll find that at Ridge Hunter Nation. That's on Facebook. Our website is ridgehunteroutdoors.com. That's where you're going to see our scent line, Ridge Hunter Scents, our buck tarsal spray, doe tarsal spray, and our calming spray. All of our apparel is available on the website, and our food plot seed, when it is in stock, is available on the website too. If you want any of that stuff, make sure you use our discount code RHO pod or Full Draw, all caps on either of those, no space, and you get 10% off your entire order. We also have our entire catalog of podcasts on the website, and our video series are available on there as well. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other audio platform, give us a like, follow, subscribe, whatever it lets you do, and that'll let you guys know when our episodes come out. They're not always as consistent as we want them to be, but we try to shoot for Monday and Friday. Sometimes it gets on a Tuesday or a Saturday maybe for an episode, and that way you'll know when they come out. It also really helps us without costing you anything. If you're listening to this on YouTube, hopefully you're already subscribed to the channel. If you're not, make sure you do that. If you're not listening to this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, make sure you go over there and do that at Ridgehunteroutdoors, just like everything else. That's where you'll find our fall pursuit show, spring strutting, all of our off-season vlogs will be on there, and much more. If you guys see a video or listening to a podcast on there and you're enjoying it, just drop us a comment. Hey, good show. Really enjoyed it. Something simple. Give the video a like. That really, really helps us out. And again, it doesn't take much of your time at all. You can also find Fall Pursuit on Carbon TV, and Spring Strutting will be on there this spring as well. So make sure you go over to Carbon TV. They have a lot of great shows to offer, and ours will be on there also. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in when you do. Now let's get back to the episode.
You know, I don't know if I would consider this my first experience, but my very first like Western, what I would consider for a Midwesterner, for a Flatlander, my first Midwest hunting experience was turkeys in South Dakota. And I know people may hear that and they're like, that's not what we're talking about. But it was out of my element.
It's definitely a different animal than what we're used to.
And we chased turkeys for a week and didn't get one. And then I went back every year for like 4 years until I was able to get one. Because I was like, I had to then. I had to prove to myself that I could do it.
Right.
And then I didn't get into elk hunting until a little later. But yeah, the first time, and it was me and a buddy, and we decided we were going to do this. We've talked about it enough. Let's just try it and go do it. And he had maybe a year or two of experience out there. I had none as far as like that far west and that big of a game. But we went out there, and yeah, the first couple days I was like, I don't know what I got myself into. You know, I trashed a truck heading out there, not heading out there, but you know, we had a point on a map that we were heading to, and that's where the truck was getting parked. And we got the truck there, but like, yeah, it needed detailed after we got back, which is no big deal. That's what trucks are made for.
Right.
But then, you know, you start hiking in and we're camping out there, and then we actually got on elk, and then we were actually able to take an elk with a muzzle loader. And here I was thinking, you know, I don't know what I'm doing to, you know, I am the world's greatest elk hunter in about 2 seconds. And I know that's not a fact. It's just the feeling that I had. How fortunate was I?
Cam Haines who?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, talk about going from the lowest of lows, really the lowest of lows. At one point, we hiked up about a 10,000 foot mountain to get over the top of a ridge, and probably actually put ourselves in a bad situation. But I didn't feel like, you know, we were good, but it was not a great place to be. And it took us about 12 hours to make that hike. And some people may listen to this and probably think, you know, you weren't strong enough or something, but I don't know. I'm a flatlander. Been walking the plains of Illinois my whole life, and here I am on a 10,000 foot mountain.
I would say the people who think that have no experience out there.
But I remember hiking up that and thinking, you know, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't even know if the elk we saw yesterday are over the top of this ridge.
Right.
And we got over that ridge, and I specifically remember telling my buddy, I actually walked away from him and went and sat down up against a rock, kind of by myself. And I just looked at him and told him I need about 5 minutes. Like I just need to gather myself after what we just did. And within that amount of time, we had glassed some elk over that ridge and spent the next couple of days getting on them and bringing a nice bull home.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was like the lowest of lows to the point where I was like packing meat and thinking, how could I do this? How did I make this work?
Right.
I'm definitely coming back. I'm all in.
Yep.
So if I had any suggestion to folks, then is don't fear the unknown. The world wasn't built on fear and the unknown.
No doubt.
Jump into it and you'll learn. You just go prepared and you will find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Stay determined.
Is this going to be your first archery trip out there? Have you had some experience with that before?
This will be my first archery trip out west. So
adding a whole new element.
Luckily, I got an archery park that I can spend all summer at, just like practicing my tail off.
Yep. Yeah, you better, because the last thing you want to do is get out there and go through all that and get your 40-yard shot and miss him, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't practice.
I won't. I don't know if I should tell the other part of that elk story is that my muzzleloader. We'd been in some rain for a couple of days.
Well, muzzleloaders and rain go well together.
Yeah, but muzzleloaders and rain just don't. You're at the mercy of whatever it is. And moisture. And,
right.
I made a shot on the elk, and it sounded like the primer went off, and that was about it. And luckily, my buddy was able to make the shot and complete that shot. So I have already had that experience where you are staring at the animal and making the shot, and it not happening.
You're prepared for that.
I'm prepared for that.
Yeah,
it's part of it, but I'm confident with it. It's not that aspect of it doesn't make it, for me personally, doesn't make it any more daunting or anything. In my mind, you're still hunting, and sometimes that's part of it, but also I'm confident with the tool I'm taking out there. So
if when you guys do get back, can we expect another article in the journal from you?
I was thinking about that a little bit. I'm holding the copy of that in my hand right now.
Are you?
And the title of the article that you're talking about is Flatlanders Elk, and I'd love to write a sequel to that or something. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Hopefully I can. I'd prefer to write an article like where something comes home, but maybe not.
Right. Hey, it might be. Well, I don't know if it'd be better one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Just the ability to go is good enough. If I go out there and blow a 40-yard shot, I'm still probably one of the luckier people around to be able to have that opportunity.
Yep, I agree. Why don't we, before you get out of here, I don't want to take up your whole evening. Why don't you tell people how they can get involved with the BHA and why they might want to get involved with the BHA and kind of what all comes in that, what that encompasses?
Yeah. So if you haven't heard of BHA, that's Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and don't get confused by the name. BHA is for everyone. It is a conservation organization across the nation, focused on keeping our public lands wild and accessible to everyone. So I know Illinois, we don't have huge piles of public land, and that's what makes it extra special here in our state. Is we need to make sure that we're keeping those places clean and pristine as they were supposed to be, and also hopefully, increase your accessibility to them. So if you want to get involved, and you should, head to backcountryhunters.org, and you can become a member. Whenever you become a member of BHA, that's $35 a year. That might sound like a lot, but that money goes back into your public lands. It goes back into things like the archery park, things like increasing your access to Illinois streams. But once you become a member, you'll start getting notified about all these things that we have going on. So you'll get, you'll be looped in on when the archery park shoots are. Or you'll be looped in on what we got going up in the Chicagoland area. There's a couple of events up there coming up. They got like a trivia night going just for folks to hang out. There's also a Learn to Hunt Turkey event at the new Sitka store in Vernon Hills, Illinois. Those are all things that they're accessible to you. You'll know about them, and then you go home feeling a little bit better that you did something to make Illinois, to make the world just a little bit better of a place.
Awesome. Where can they go and sign up for that?
Backcountryhunters.org. There's a little tab on there that just says join BHA. And once you join, your address, wherever your home address is, will put you instantly into receiving notifications from the chapter of the state that you live in. So if you live in Illinois, you'll start getting looped in. And I also tell people to, if there's something that you want to do, BHA has a lot of resources. We have a lot of volunteers across the state, across the country. If there's something you want to do, just let us know. We'll find a way to do it. Lake Shelbyville doesn't have to be the only place that gets an archery park. Mm-hmm. We just need folks that want to do it and tell us where to do it, and we'll do our best to get others involved and make your needs in your area possible.
Awesome. That's a really good opportunity for people out there that enjoy the outdoors. You don't even have to be a hunter if you're just recreational, or you just want to keep your public lands. Maybe you enjoy going for walks, or just even having the option to do it. Maybe you don't even do it, or maybe someone in your family does. I think definitely your money's going to the right place. It's not one of those deals you got to worry about where that $35 a year is going. It's obviously going to good causes, and you guys can show that, like what you're talking about, based on the things you're doing. And the awareness for that's only going to grow more and more with the things you guys are doing, and as people become members. So thanks for coming on, man. And is there anything we missed that you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I just really appreciate it. I know we're both busy, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on. And I love listening to you guys. And hopefully, I don't know, are you guys going up to the Deer Classic or heading to any of those events? I'm sure we'll connect up there and bring some things to maybe throw out to folks that go.
That'll work, man. Thanks, and anytime, you're welcome on the show anytime. I'm sure we'll do another one sometime coming up this year, but that'll wrap it up for this one, man. Thanks again, and look forward to hooking up there at the Deer Classic if we don't cross paths before then.
Yeah, if I don't see you then, I better be seeing you and everybody that listens to this podcast at the grand opening of the archery park.
There we go. If you guys are anywhere close to Shelbyville, that one will be worth going to. So thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks again, Drew. And we'll catch everybody on the next one.